Well, I'm so glad to have you on because there's so many things happening. I mean, what are the things I guess that are the biggest uh, hiccup points for people right now that you see over and over again? Let's just get the basics out of the way.
Yeah. I think, you know, I feel like I can't either host my show or talk with somebody on their show without saying A and I next to each other. And say, I think that in terms of the legal and regulatory landscape right now, everybody's got big questions about what will happen um, with respect to AI adoption, how it's going to impact intellectual property rights to work that gets created, what it's going to mean for things like content authenticity, content fakery, and then also what it means in the advertising world, what it means in terms of creating honest and honest impressions of a brand to a consumer. And so we're seeing a couple things, and there's a couple things we're watching right now from a regulatory and a legal perspective. We have copyright cases that we're seeing weave their way through the federal courts, the appellate courts right now to determine what are the guardrails and boundaries going to be, around these gigantic AI platforms' ability to digest content that somebody owns the copyright in, whether it's novel, a script, a marketing campaign, a logo, whatever it might be. What are the guardrails going to be around their ability to digest into their training data, all of that stuff? And then and the second question being, who is going to be responsible if any infringement occurs on the other side with the output from AI? So that obviously raises a lot of intellectual property questions, a lot of ownership questions. I would say the big question I get on this point, just from our clients who happen to be owners and leaders of marketing agencies, is first of all, who owns the content if we're using generative AI to create it? And second of all, who's responsible if something goes sideways once the content is out there in the public and it does infringe on somebody else's IP rights? So I think I would start there and say those are the big questions that we see right now from a regulatory perspective around the impact of AI on creative work of all kinds.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a ton of guidance. I know that in Texas, there's a law that passed on the first where they're creating a council, which is kind of taking a leadership role. We got Colorado trying to provide consumer rights in some different areas, and then of course California and kind of adopting kind of GDPR kind of regulatory environment, which scares me because there's a lot of administrative overhang to be able to operate in that environment. There's a number of things that you hit on that I look at from a little bit different lens.